Trump campaign is now reaching voters online.
You are seeing the President of the United States. Look at the lines. You join our movement. A lot of President Trump supporters here. Greatest movement in the history of our country.
The most racist thing a person could tell me is that I'm supposed to choose something based on my race.
You ain't black.
Joe Biden has never been a friend to African Americans.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of what we call
Truth Over Facts.
China lied to us. They destroyed test kits. They lied to their own people.
Since Ronald Reagan, we haven't had a president more engaged and more involved in the Western Hemisphere than this administration, and it's been a great partnership to work with them on.
Well, you've heard of The View, but welcome to The Right View.
And with us today is the Motor City Madman, Ted Nugent, because this isn't your typical political show.
It's the most important election in our lifetime.
Joe Biden, who has a dismal record of economic failure and absolutely terrible ideas for the future.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
Wednesday just got better because the ladies are live discussing the hottest topics of the week with you tonight.
And we will make America great again.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Right View. I'm Lara Trump, Senior Advisor to President Trump's re-election campaign. And we have a fantastic panel tonight of accomplished and brilliant women who have been working tirelessly on President Trump's campaign. Kimberly Guilfoyle, National Chair of Trump Victory, Mercedes Schlapp, Senior Advisor for Strategic Communications, and Katrina Pierson, Senior Advisor to the Trump campaign. All right, ladies, let's jump in and get started. As we know, the nation has been under quarantine since the coronavirus pandemic reached our shores earlier this year. Thanks to President Trump's bold and unprecedented actions to combat coronavirus, the curve has been flattened. It's now time to reopen the economy and get Americans back to work. And that is exactly what President Trump and his administration are working to do. A recent Wall Street Journal editorial piece hit the nail on the head, stating it's worth noting that the states opening most slowly are big states run by Democrats that represent something like a third of the U.S. economy. This means a slower recovery for those states and the U.S. Let's take a look at this clip of President Trump at the Ford factory in Michigan.
Since Florida's open, Georgia's open, many of these states are open right now. And if you don't open up, you're going to lose a lot of your businesses. They're going to have to open it up. You're going to be put at a big disadvantage. And a lot of the Democrat governors just don't want to do that. And they think it's good politically. I think it's very bad politically.
All right, Mercy, what is your reaction to the president?
Well, I first got to tell you that the president's absolutely right. I think what you're seeing with these Democrat governors, you got to scratch your head and say, wait a second, is this their political play going into the fall? Or are they just simply scared? You know, here we are at a moment in time where the president, along with the CDC, have offered guidelines on really the steps that these states have to take or should take to reopen the economy safely and responsibly. This is about wearing masks. This is about ensuring that you're still doing your social distance. But at the end of the day, this is about also the individual freedom. It's the fact that I think we, the people, have a better understanding to know that we can take on this responsibility. But at the same time, Americans are ready. There's pent-up demand. They want to get back to work. These workers are tired of just staying home and being scared all the time because they're listening to the media constantly, 24 hours, about the fear mongering, the pandemic. But then when you look at the facts and you look at states like Florida, Governor DeSantis has done an effective job of reopening up Florida and making sure that hospitals have the resources they have, that the people are slowly but surely getting back to work. And all of this because the governors have had the support of President Trump during this pandemic to ensure that the supplies and the testing are getting to these states. And I think that, you know, the Democrats are just going way too far with their approach of basically scaring the American people and really not allowing us to go back to work in a safe and responsible manner.
And Kimberly, why are Democrat governors trying to hurt the national recovery? What do you think?
Well, let me tell you something. It's like a frightening audition, okay? Because they want to be like the stunt double vice president pick de jour. They're running for VP. They don't care. And ultimately, they're running against America because Americans want to get back to work. You're right, Mercy. They are tired of being home, but they're eager to jump back into the American economy. And they know that President Trump is the one to lead them straight to the path to victory for a resurgence in the American economy and deliver 4 more years to President Trump, which is so essential to making sure that we get back on track. Because as we've talked about, ladies, before, this president is the one that built the greatest economy our country has ever seen. And they know that he did it before. He can do it again. That's basic common sense. He's going to do it. He's ready to do it. And Americans are ready to work as partners with him to make sure that that happens. And Joe Biden, what has Joe Biden ever done for this country except take a paycheck that at the expense of the American people? And he wants to continue to be rewarded, even though he's essentially has a legacy of failure. The Obama-Biden administration didn't do anything for this country. Why would we reward them with a second chance to destroy the American economy? We can't afford to do that. They're going to lose the White House. They're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to win the election. It's going to be incredible because President Trump is going to be the one to be able to deliver the economy, the election, and really a resurgence in America. Make America great. Keep America great.
All right, Katrina, a recent Politico article reports that Democrats are spooked and panicked about the predictions of an economic recovery this fall. Why do they want to keep the economy closed?
Well, you know, they should be afraid because what's happening is they were all giddy not too long ago. And to answer your first question about why they're the ones that are the slowest opening, is because this is their typical political MO. You know, you can't let a good crisis go to waste.
That's the playbook.
That's exactly what they're worried about right now, because they thought they were going to be able to stretch this crisis out long enough to do enough damage to the economy so that we would not be able to recover. Imagine that. Imagine people who are elected to represent the people of this country who want our nation to fail in the worst of ways. But that is what's happening right now. And they should be worried because I believe it was Jared Kushner who said maybe a week or two ago that come July, the economy is going to be rebounding and we're going to be back better than ever. And they of all people know, all of the Democrats know that President Trump, if anything, can jumpstart this economy and make it soar faster than ever before. So they should be very afraid.
Hey, Lara, can I jump in real quick? So I got to tell you all a really funny story. I don't know if it's funny, but it was very telling. It was telling. So I was on this debate with the DNC comms director, okay? And she went off on all this rampage of the president and how basically blaming the president for the high unemployment numbers for Latinos, okay? So just think about it. Their playbook going into the fall is going to be President Trump is responsible for the deaths, number one, and number two, that he's responsible for the high unemployments of Latinos, Blacks, women, of Americans. That's their playbook. They are not rooting for the American people. They are not standing with the American people. The Democrats are just concerned about pushing this negative political story and blaming it on President Trump. And I got to tell you, that's a dangerous tactic for the president. I literally responded to to Xochitl is her name, the DNC comms director. I said, where have you been? Have you been in a basement all day? Because let me tell you something. It's because of President Trump that we had these historic unemployment numbers for Latinos. So to dare they say that we are going to get blamed for the high unemployment numbers when really it's the Democrat governors who are keeping the economy closed, I don't think it's going to work.
She must have been in the basement with Joe Biden. Maybe she's been keeping him company down there. I don't know what's been happening. She obviously
Basement
has not
buddies.
been paying
I wonder,
attention.
were they wearing a mask? I mean, were they sharing a mask?
I sure hope so. I think they probably were. I want to get back, Mercy, to something you just talked about. When you look at Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis has really done a great job at phasing the reopening of his state. This can easily be contrasted with states like Michigan, whose extremely liberal governor, Gretchen Whitmer, is refusing to open. Governor Gretchen Whitmer's husband is actually in a bit of hot water after new reports say he pulled the "don't you know who I am" card, attempting to get his boat in the water for Memorial Day. Whitmer's husband reportedly said, "I'm the husband to the governor. Will this make a difference?" when the dock company told him he couldn't get his boat in the water before Memorial Day. Of course, Governor Whitmer is trying to play this off as a joke. So funny, huh? Kimberly and Katrina, can you contrast Florida being able to reopen without increasing their cases with governors like Gretchen Whitmer using fear-mongering to keep their economies closed? Kimberly, we'll start with you.
Yeah, because one of them is actually just, basically weaponizing this whole election against at the expense of the American people. They care more about winning this election than they do about what's best for this country, for the economy, for the hardworking men and women. So they're willing to take it all the way. And this is totally in keeping and in character what they have been doing in the past, which is these witch hunts, these hoax, these investigations like the Mueller investigation, spying on Americans, spying on the campaign and on the president, the family, and anyone connected to the campaign. It's unconscionable. So of course, they would actually try to play dirty politics again and not open up their states, because I believe that they would rather do that than instead see Americans succeed and see Donald Trump actually reelected. And it's frightening because you can do this in a responsible way. But this is part and parcel with blue states under Democrat rule, where they govern there, and you see the highest, unemployment rates. You see record crime. You see murders, like places like Chicago. What do you see? All these places have been under Democrat rule. They have failed their citizens. They have failed the American people. And they're right now in lockstep to do it again. And you look across this country, it's just a perfect pattern of the Democrats doing it again. And they're working in concert with the left, with the liberals and the media, the mainstream media, to do this, to try to pull a fast one on the American people. But they're standing up for the liberty and freedom. They're saying, we're not going to put up with that. And hopefully they're going to exercise their right to vote on November 3rd and cast a wise decision for Trump instead of these people that wish to do them harm.
Yeah, what do you think, Katrina?
But here's the best part, Laura. But isn't this like typical liberal nonsense? Do as I say, not as I do. The best part of this story to me was the fact that not only did he try to take his boat out against his wife's orders, but it was to a location where she had already told people that you can't go unless you live there.
Right.
And guess what? He didn't live there.
They don't live there.
This is so typical of Democrats. I mean, this is every single time, guys. They always want to put all these restrictions on everyone else and exempt themselves. They're always above the laws that they make, by the way. And so I think that is the best part of this whole story, is that this is just typical do as I say, not as I do. They are being the authority. Like Kimberly said, these are regimes now. These states are no longer republics. These are regimes. And I hope Americans are paying attention to which states are being run in respect of their constitutional values and which states are being run where people are being treated as their peasants. Because I tell you what, Democrats are really in for a big surprise in November.
Can I tell you, I think that the husband had enough of his wife. I really think that the husband was like, I am done with these stay-at-home orders.
Maybe he's visiting Trump in November.
I am raking my leaves and I am out of here. Like, seriously, I think he just couldn't take it anymore.
Well, I bet he likes the freedoms in this country just like the rest of us, and maybe he's going to cast a vote for Donald J. Trump on November 3rd. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we can.
Good idea, Laura. Good idea.
Invite him on the show. We should totally invite him on the show.
Let's get him on. Absolutely. But it actually, what we see happening is really shocking in these states. Some of these liberal states have actually declared liquor stores and abortion clinics as essential throughout this crisis while forcing places of worship to remain closed. President Trump took notice and boldly declared churches as essential last week. Now, the women of The View didn't like the president's decision to name places of worship as essential. Watch this.
But the rules are being distorted by Trump and his enablers in the Congress in particular, the leaders in Congress who are enabling him. He's playing a political game with people's lives. And these people do not realize that they are pawns in his game. He only wants to be reelected. He doesn't really care if you live or die. He couldn't care less. He wants to turn people against each other so that he gets reelected. Let's take the example of the church. Does anybody really believe that he's so religious and cares so much about people going to church? No, he doesn't. He only wants to turn you against each other, religion against other religion. He has to say, go and open the churches. Why does he fiddle with people's lives is what I want to know.
All right, well, what a disgusting and ridiculous commentary by Joy Behar. And let me just remind you, Joy, this is about people's freedom and their right to worship. So, Mercy, can we talk about this contrast? What gives Joy Behar the right to tell us that we can't worship in our churches? Maybe it's okay for her to sit home, but not everybody agrees with that. Why are Democrats adamant about keeping churches locked down?
So I don't know about you all, but I'm having this image of Joe Behar in the bathroom praying. I don't know if that would go far, but Lord Jesus. So it's a huge problem. Why? Because here's this president, and what bothers me about her criticism is that here's this president who has been a staunch defender of religious liberties, has been a staunch defender of those who worship in their churches. And during this pandemic, I think it's really been, at least in my house, faith has been a critical part of us being able to get through this, and my children being able to get through this very difficult time. And so, we want to be in community. Of course, we want to do this, and I say this again, in a safe and responsible manner. And what is the hypocrisy of so many of these states like California and like Minnesota and like Nevada, oh, by the way, they're all Democrat governors, is that you can go to a bar with 50 people, but you can't go to a church with 10 people. And so I applaud the Department of Justice for coming out strong and basically urging these states to change their ways, to ensure that they lift these restrictions, because this is about the First Amendment. This is about freedom of worship. And I think that is something that President Trump very much understands, values, and champions since he's been president, which is defending those individuals who want to practice their faith freely. And it's something that the Democrats and the liberal media will never understand. They'll always go against us because they think that us church-going people are, the gun-clinging, Bible-clinging individuals that don't reach to their level of acceptance.
Yeah, well, too bad for them. We live in the United States of America, and we are keeping our First and Second Amendment and all the rest of them intact. So better get in line because it's going to be a long one before those leave this country. Keeping along the radical Democrats, Nancy Pelosi pushed through her $3 trillion liberal wish list in the House. The bill had absolutely nothing to do with providing relief to Americans and was focused solely on her radical agenda. Katrina, why do Democrats continue to politicize the coronavirus pandemic? Will they stop at nothing to force their extreme socialist ideology? What's going on?
No, look, the only way that they're ever going to get to destroy our country is if we allow them to. And I think a lot of Americans have realized how easily they've just, wanted to do their part and move it along. They figured out that the real deal here is for Democrats to take full control of their lives. And again, it's taking advantage of that crisis thing. And it's funny because I posted on Instagram recently, there was this Alexa video that's out there and it says, Alexa, how long is the coronavirus going to last? So Alexa goes into this long discussion about it being a couple of more weeks, except for the Democrat Party, who is suffering under Trump derangement syndrome, who are going to try to extend this for a whole host of reasons, whether it be to implement socialism, whether it be to milk the state for more money. I mean, you name it, this is how the Democrats function. Even Alexa knows this. So they're going to continue to try to stretch this out. Americans are tired, Governor, and the governor in Michigan, obviously her husband is tired of it too. And as we've all just discussed, we see red states, people out in their swimsuits, out on the lake, partying at the beach. So those folks in the blue states are really wondering what's going on here. So I think they're all getting the memo.
Yeah, well, I live in one of those blue states. I live in New York, and we would love to be out living our lives. We would love to reopen. The irony of this whole thing is that about 12 miles away from here in Connecticut, you can go out to dinner in a restaurant. Things are starting to open. Wow. Life is feeling normal. And all of our friends who live in Connecticut are like living it up. It's the greatest. Things are feeling, back like they should be. It's a little weird that a couple miles away, we're not doing that. Mercy or Kimberly, do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think this is just really totally in keeping with Nancy Pelosi, AOC, the squad. They really just want to pilfer the American people. She's like a runaway teenager on a weekend with a checkbook, writing bad checks. She's all, how about $3 trillion? She doesn't care. If she'd be happy to wake up in the morning and wake up and go, good morning, Venezuela, because that's their vision for America. And communism, socialism has never worked for anybody. Okay, what works is opening America, getting manufacturing, infrastructure, cutting regulations, lowering taxes. Oh, who's done that? President Trump understands you need a businessman, someone who's a CEO to be commander in chief to get America back to work. He understands how to do it. He's the adult at the table and they're sitting at the kids' table, no idea what they're doing with glue on their fingers and in their hair. And we can't let them make a mess of this country. That's why America has to say no and cancel her out on November 3rd. That's why we need to make sure and take back the House and keep the Senate. And the way we're going to do those things is by re-electing Donald Trump in a red wave landslide. And I'm all about it. Let's go. November 3rd can't happen quick enough.
Boom.
Hey, Laura, I want to add one quick thing that we saw Representative Scalise tweet about yesterday. It was House Republicans are suing Nancy Pelosi to block her proxy voting power grab that lets her unilaterally pass legislation with just 20 members present. Wow. I mean, that is insane. We can't let her get away with this. This is what she is focused on doing. These Democrats will go into power, and believe me, they will get rid of filibusters. They will ensure that they have absolute control to pass whatever legislation they want to do. It's why we got to Kimberly's point, vote these Democrats out.
Yes. That we do. All right, everybody stay right where you are. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of The Right View.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black, take a look at my record, man.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others.
He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement and kept telling the story anyway.
I came out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
Now, his aides went back to say, look, he was in office marching for the idea.
That's not the word marching means on
Twitter. I was not out marching.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
And you ain't black.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black.
The most racist thing a person could tell me is that I'm supposed to choose something based on my race.
You ain't black.
Hey, Lara Trump here. The fake news media has spent years trying to stop President Trump with their lies and their witch hunts. But still, our movement is stronger than ever. We can't let the fake news media drown out our positive message about all of our incredible accomplishments. Make sure you're getting your news directly from the source by subscribing to the official Donald J. Trump podcast today. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play.
Welcome back to The Right View. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle. Joe Biden's shocking comments this week are yet another example of he and the Democrats taking the black community for granted. Democrats seem immune to the essential idea that a candidate must earn their vote. In fact, Democrats have a long history of taking minorities for granted. And Joe Biden himself has a long history for making racist remarks. Let's play the clip of Joe Biden on The Breakfast Club.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
You can't make this up. Yeah. All right, to no one's surprise, Whoopi Goldberg and the other hosts of The View never brought Joe Biden's "you ain't black" comments up for discussion on Friday. Shocking. Even though it was the biggest story of the day. And on Tuesday's show, however, the ladies finally discussed the abhorrent comments made by the former VP. Let's take a look at this clip of what Rep. Clyburn from South Carolina had to say about this.
I cringed, no question about that. It's kind of interesting, though. You know, Charlemagne, or Leonard, is from South Carolina as well. In fact, he and my wife, my late wife, shared the same hometown, Moncks Corner. We hung out together last homecoming at South Carolina State. So I know him very well. I know what his job is. His job is to push the buttons, and he does that very well. In this instance, Joe did not do as well as I had hoped in responding, but I will say this. I go about my business every day comparing Joe Biden to the alternative, not the almighty. He is not a perfect person. None of us are. So what my decision now is to determine who I feel should be the next president of the United States. Look, he's not a perfect person. All of us have misspoken. We sometimes say things we do not really mean, that come out a little bit wrong, and that's what happened here.
Okay, well, that was perhaps, I guess, the best defense they could give for Joe Biden. But let me tell you something. While other people were sweeping it under the carpet, we weren't, right, Katrina? I mean, Katrina has really, you came right out on this, talking about it. You know, Joe Biden, he really even hasn't apologized, let's be honest. He just said he regrets the comment. So why is it, and how can Democrats actually justify, and the media simply just sort of pawn off, blow it off, Joe Biden's extremely offensive comments, just as like, oh, we all make a mistake here and there?
Well, because that's what they do. And for so long, Kimberly, they've been able to get away with it. The media has been covering up for Democrats since as long as I can remember. But the only reason that this really broke through was because of the other Black people who were not Republicans talking about this. You know, this is one of those things that, you know, you hear somebody like Clyburn say, well, you know, he just misspoke. Really? So we have 40 years of misspeaking? We actually did, through the Black Voices for Trump Coalition, an entire show last week just highlighting some of the racist comments and people that Joe Biden called his friends. We're talking about people who didn't want to integrate Black children with white children. We're talking about people who said Black people are inferior. These are his friends. I wonder if Clyburn's ever asked Joe Biden, hey, you want to apologize for that one? Because guess what, guys?
Yeah.
It's 2020. And Joe Biden has never, to this day, apologized for any of those comments, any of those associations. And let's not forget about, you know, the clean and articulate candidate, Barack Obama. So I'm pretty sure his VP candidate's going to have to be quite clean and possibly articulate in order to cut the row here. But here's what's so insane about all of this. This is not new. And so when you see somebody like a Clyburn say that, other Black people see that and go, well, maybe he's right. This is what Black people don't know that they're figuring out today. And that's what we call the devil's bargain. The devil's bargain are all these black Democrats who support white liberals because they keep them in power. So they get the scraps from the white liberals. And so they go out there and they corral the black vote. Come on, come on. So for 40 years, you've heard this, oh, we're going to help you. We're going to raise the black community up. Joe Biden has done nothing.
Exactly,
for
lip
Black
service.
America. If
You're absolutely
anything,
right.
he's done everything to hurt Black America because white liberal policies hurt Black and brown people in this country, and they're seeing that now. So I just wonder if the media is even going to ask Clyburn, since he's still supporting of Joe Biden, if he's ever apologized to him personally about those affiliations or about anything that he has said about Black people over the last 40 years. Chances are likely not.
No, and you were great, Katrina, calling him out. You had the T-shirt on. I was putting it on my Insta story. You did the post.
We also have it on our Instagram. Check this out.
There we go.
By the way, can I just say that Clyburn's remarks there, what's the greatest display of jazz hands I've ever seen? If anybody took dance, jazz hands are like, oh, look
jazz
over
hands.
here, not over here. Talking about Charlemagne, oh, he's from South Carolina. He's from my wife's hometown. I'm sorry, that doesn't matter at all. We're asking you about the extremely racist comment that Joe Biden made directly to the American public, and you're talking about where Charlemagne's from. I don't think so. And I think it was very clear, by the way, to anyone who watched this and anyone who has been educated on the background of the Democrat Party and the Republican Party that Joe Biden was telling the truth, by the way. He was telling it as the Democrats have believed for so long, that if you are a Black American, you are to vote for Democrats. We got your vote no matter what, no matter how badly our policies reflect in your community, no matter if we do anything for you at all. It's a lot of promises, and then we get to Washington, D.C. and do nothing. Joe Biden told the truth there of exactly what the Democrats think of Black Americans in this country. So I hope people were paying attention. There's a reason, by the way, that our hats say woke on them. People in this country are woke now, and they are not buying it anymore.
You're absolutely right, Laura and Katrina, because, you know, minority Americans, they deserve better than Joe Biden. Okay, don't sell out to a guy like that. He doesn't care. They've just totally taken your vote for granted. They've taken your taxes, the hard-earned money that you go out to work for every single day, and they just keep taking it and just expect you to show up at the polls. Why? Say no. Same thing with the Latino community. They don't care. They're not representing minority interests, hard-working Americans that want to experience the American dream and pass it on as a legacy to their children. And enough's enough. President Trump respects that vote and has earned it. And that's what I think we're going to see on November 3rd. I want to highlight a quote from an op-ed from the Washington Post written by 7 Black women that says, quote, very simply, Vice President Biden, you owe us, you need us, and you must not take our votes for granted. They must be earned. Mercy, I'll get you to weigh in on that, and Katrina.
Well, I got to tell you, I think it's so telling that these women felt it was so important to deliver this message to Joe Biden, because when you look at the record of Joe Biden, where he was supportive of the 1994 crime bill, which led to mass incarceration in the Black community and the Hispanic community, and the fact is that his record is so weak in really uplifting Blacks out of poverty. And so when you compare that to President Trump and his record of low unemployment for Blacks, of ensuring that Blacks had economic opportunities, of the criminal justice reform, which he knows has impacted so many lives in those communities, and being able to share that message. And I know, and I'm so proud of Katrina and her team, because they do this every day of talking about what the president has accomplished. It is nonstop for them as they're going in there. They're going to open up our Black Voices offices, which is so great, because one of the problems that Republicans have had for too long is that they would not go into these communities. And that's what President Trump did differently. President Trump said, what do you got to lose?
Exactly.
You know, count on me. And so I think that that is a very powerful message. And I give so much credit to what the campaign is doing under the leadership of Katrina in Black Voices, and really staying focused and talking with the Black community to say, come to us. You're seeing what you're doing with Joe Biden here. I mean, Joe Biden literally, in the CNN interview he just gave, literally blamed the host by saying, quote, he's being a wise guy, and I just responded to it. Not only did he not apologize, but he's blaming the other guy. It just shows how weak and how little Joe Biden is.
It's so true.
It's
And
typical,
Katrina,
Mercy.
I want to compliment you.
Remember when Cory Booker said, you hung out with these guys who called the black people boy. And he said, you should apologize for that.
That's right.
He says, well, Cory Booker should be the one to apologize. He knows better. It's the same thing. Sorry, go ahead, KG.
Yeah, I was giving you a compliment, but all good. You go, girl. But I was going to say, it's amazing when you see the difference that one person can make in the country. That's what I love about America. Like Katrina, you've just been on fire on this issue, getting people to really stand up and use their voice, have their vote be counted and earned. What you've been able to do, like Mercy said, with Black Voices for Trump has been fantastic and empowering to Black men and women, an example for Black children in this country as well, which I absolutely love. And here's what I have my question for you. Why does Joe Biden feel so entitled to the Black vote?
He feels entitled because for decades, they've had this vote locked up. They've been able to use one word, racist. And that is what kept Republicans, to Mercy's point, from not going into those neighborhoods. And if you don't show up and ask for the vote, Kimberly, you don't get it. And they have never expected a Republican to do that. And the courage of Donald J. Trump in 2016 to go to Detroit, to want to go to Chicago and ask people, what do you have to lose? That kind of courage was a spark. And now we have an opportunity with the accomplishments that Mercy mentioned. I mean, Barack Obama didn't do anything for historical Black colleges and universities. They were still coming back every single year begging for money. President Trump says, well, that doesn't make any sense. Here's 10 years. Don't come and see me again as long as I'm in office. I mean, these are the little things that matter to Black Americans. And we consider it our job to make sure that Black America knows this, because we know the media is not going to tell them. And so we're just excited to have a candidate in President Trump that has the courage and the will to go out there and ask for the vote. And more importantly, to deliver on promises, things that Joe Biden and those guys have been just talking about for decades.
My God, it's so true. Let me tell you something. Just we were talking about earlier in the program, but places of worship and churches. While Democrat and blue state governors and officials are shutting down churches and Black churches across this country and won't let them worship, who stood up? Who stood up for the Black community and the Black pastors and the Black churches in this community, in this country, and said, open your doors and worship? That's America. That's Donald Trump's vision for America and of religion and freedom of religion in this country. If you want to even pick one issue to vote on, there's a good one right there. So, Laura, I want you to talk to our viewers about how Joe Biden has repeatedly, and this is another example of it, failed the Black community.
Well, you don't have to look very far. You look at the 1994 Clinton crime bill, which Joe Biden was a big champion of, and it incarcerated disproportionate numbers of Black men in this country for nonviolent offenses. Thanks to Donald Trump and the First Step Act, those people are getting a second chance at life. The first comprehensive prison reform in 3 decades, thanks to President Donald Trump. You look at things like the fact that the Democrats and Joe Biden are more concerned with illegal immigrants than the 9 million Black Americans living in poverty in this country. And it's absolutely astounding that the fact is, I think we're going to see something happen in 2020 that will be historic with the Black community in this country.
I agree.
And Katrina, you remember you and I were on a bus together with Diamond and Silk and with Lynn, traveling all across this country, and the places that touched me the most that we went in 2016 were these inner city communities. They never expected us to come there. We reached out to them. They were so thrilled to have people that came to listen to their stories, to pay attention to them. I remember the place in Philadelphia, literally this neighborhood has so many murders that they have a coffin out on the sidewalk constantly just to remind people how bad it is in their community. These are the communities that sat up and said, wait a minute, What do we have to lose? The Democrats have done nothing for us. They're putting illegal immigrants ahead of us in this country and ahead of American citizens. And it's done. It's over. I really think that in 2020, on November 3rd, you are going to see a historic number of Black Americans come out and vote for Donald Trump, because time and time again, he continues to keep his promises, Katrina, like you were just saying. And you see how every step of the way, the policies of the Democrat Party would absolutely destroy not only this country, but it would affect these communities in this country that had already been so forgotten and so left behind by the previous administration, that they really would be hit the hardest. So fortunately, we're going to get 4 more years of Donald Trump, and that is all going to change. And this country, I think, is in for an incredible 4 years after Donald Trump is reelected.
I can't wait.
Hey,
You just got me excited,
Kimberly,
Laura.
so
Yes.
Laura mentioned this bus tour that we were on. Let
Yeah.
me just say this. There were several women on this bus tour. Laura was the only white chick. Just so you know. She was the only white chick.
It wasn't by design, though.
This
was just how it happened.
The beauty of it.
Yeah.
And she wanted to go. She was the one. We were going to the barbershops and the beauty salons.
Yes.
We were going to the soul food restaurants and the barbecue joints.
Oh my
that
God.
was Laura Trump. We had so much fun.
We did.
And I think those communities loved having us there too. And I can't wait to get back to that, Laura.
Fantastic. Yes, I can't wait. We open back up. I'm all about it. Barbecue and beauty shop. You completely right. All right. So Mercy, yes, how has President Trump shown us that he's committed to really earning the vote of Black Americans?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this in all of us in part. We've talked about obviously the fact that for President Trump, and I think, he really has understood that it's about providing opportunity for all Americans. And we're not going to leave anyone behind. And it is about the forgotten man and woman. And part of the forgotten man and woman has been the Black community for way too long. Because for the Democrats, it's really easy to say, you know what, government's the solution, government will take care of you. And then all of a sudden the Black community is saying, like the Hispanic community, saying, no, we've got this. We're going to work hard. We're going to succeed. We're going to make sure our kids have the choice that they want to go to the best schools that they want to go to and take it to the next level. And I think for the president, he understood it. It's why he's also been a champion of school choice, an issue that we know
important.
would so greatly impact in such a positive way the Black community, the Latino community. And you know what Joe Biden has said? He said he would eliminate charter schools. Charter schools. So you're going to put these kids into failing schools where the teachers unions decide the future of these children instead of the parents or the grandparents deciding where their kids should go, where their grandkids should go. And yet the Democrats and Joe Biden refuse to allow our children, these children, to have a chance at a quality education, a better education where you empower the parents. So I think school choice is going to be one of those things that the president will keep pushing for when he gets reelected this year.
And I hope he does. I think it's very important. And we saw that even the State of the Union, it was highlighted, and the powerful impact, the ability of choice, to be able to provide a wonderful education of your choosing to your child, to have a future and have some promise of hope for a better life. And I think it's important, it's imperative that we have President Trump in. Again, here's another issue and a reason to make a choice for Trump. All right, going back to the View on Friday's show, Yvette Nicole Brown said that Joe Biden's running mate should be a woman of color. On the same day, that he made these disgusting comments. You can't make it up. Let's play the clip.
Yvette, we were talking earlier about Biden's VP pick, and you had some opinions on that.
I do. Like, on the one hand, I'm a Black woman, so I do agree that it is time for a Black woman to be president or vice president. I believe that. Also, though, I feel like if he is going to not do that and he chooses a white woman, it needs to be Elizabeth Warren. Everybody knows I love Elizabeth Warren, but it's not just because I think she's awesome. She is awesome, but she's also who she appears to be. And a lot of people in politics are not. I think we need someone with that heart if we don't choose a Black woman. So I'm saying, we got Kamala, we got Val Demings, we got
color.
Or woman of color. Yes, I'm Black, so I'm standing for the Black people right now. But yes, a woman of color needs to be in those positions. So, yeah.
Okay, well, The View actually had the audacity to discuss Biden's VP pick while completely ignoring what he said earlier in the day. It's magic. It's like abracadabra. I guess it just didn't happen. It's really no surprise there. It's their superpower, right? So Joe Biden has already said that he will only pick a woman as his running mate. And it's honestly condescending, quite frankly, to women that he would choose someone based on their gender rather than their credentials or their experience or suitability to be vice president. So Joe Biden says he is going into this important decision, first considering someone's gender. Laura, it's a tough one, right? But what is Joe Biden thinking? First of all, assuming facts not in evidence that he does think, but
well, yeah, if he can remember that he is running for president, that's a fair question. I am so confused, and I have been since 2016, since Hillary Clinton decided to run for president. With this, it's time for a woman.
Right.
It's time for, what is
Her
it?
turn.
It's not time for anything. How about it's the right person for the job? And you know what? If that person happens to be a woman, fantastic. I'm all for it. Let's start picking people based on their qualifications and what they bring to the table. If you are choosing someone solely based on the way they look as your number one, item to choose, it is absolutely ridiculous. It is condescending, Kimberly. It is so absurd. And women in this country aren't stupid. We told you that in 2016 when you tried to tell us we should vote for Hillary Clinton because she was a woman and it was time for a woman to be president. The glass ceiling, the whole thing. It's ridiculous.
Hey, choose me because I'm the one that has the most experience, that's the most qualified, that's the best candidate for the job. Instead, he's like, let me just give you a layup here because you're not capable of scoring one on your own. And I think it's so offensive and so demeaning to women.
Yeah, there's no question. I think identity politics is just a failed political strategy, but they cannot help themselves. And I find it fascinating to watch these women on The View also just be like, well, he's got to pick a woman, he's just really got to pick a woman. And then Joe Biden goes from like, oh yeah, I'll pick a woman, but maybe it'll be a woman of color. Maybe it won't be a woman of color. It's you can't get it straight in Joe Biden's mind. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I think he should pick the husband of the governor of Michigan.
There you go.
I guess. Come on.
There's a start. Can you imagine? Yeah, Katrina, what do you think about this?
Well, I think it actually says more about the woman who believes that than anything else. Because if you're going to really put all of your faith into an individual who's going to make life choices for you and your family just because of their gender, I think that speaks more volumes about who you are, not who the candidate is or not who the party is for that matter. Because if you care about your family, if you care about your future, if you care about your income, you should want the best person for the job, regardless of their gender, regardless of their race. So really, I think it speaks volumes. It's about the people who look in the mirror who actually believe that. And I think that is probably for a bigger discussion. Maybe we'll have that on the show one day. But to Laura's point about rejecting this in 2016, guys, America rejected this in 2008.
Exactly. Groundhog
That's right.
Day. Hello.
So here's the thing. Newsflash. She was a horrible candidate. Americans knew that. They didn't support her. Joe Biden is going to pick a horrible candidate, and Americans are not going to like that because Donald Trump has delivered for this country the way no other president in our lifetime has ever delivered, particularly for women and communities of color. And those are two very serious voting blocs who are paying attention to what is happening, and they're getting the real news now that they have the right view.
That's right.
Absolutely. And he can't have the best woman of color for the job. That's Katrina Pierson. She belongs to us, okay? Creepy Joe, hands off. All right, we have more coming up right after this quick break, only here on The Right View. As we have already seen, his America First agenda has lifted all Americans up and have empowered them with true economic emancipation that has once again made the American dream possible. That's why I want you to text EMPOWER to 88022 right now if you want to keep America great and deliver 4 more years for President Donald J. Trump.
Mass incarceration has put hundreds of thousands behind bars for minor offenses. Joe Biden wrote those laws.
Every major crime bill that's come out of this Congress has had the name Joe Biden on that bill. We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill.
Joe Biden's policies destroyed millions of black lives. Joe Biden may not remember, but we do.
In 2016, we built an unbeatable operation that changed history. Now, we unveil our next breakthrough. The exclusive Trump 2020 app. This isn't just an app. This is your source for real news, not fake news. Straight from the campaign and the president himself. This is your direct line to give input on key campaign issues. Your portal to register voters. Host MAGA meetups. Your scheduler. Your application on becoming a Trump team leader. Join millions and get a front row seat to our virtual events. Watch Team Trump every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Earn points, get rewarded. Get the presidential photo. Oh, and did we mention, this is your personal shopper too? So just to repeat, this isn't just an app. This is your tool to keep America great. Join the army for Trump and download the app today.
And welcome back to The Right View here with Lara Trump, Kimberly Guilfoyle, and Mercedes Schlapp. And ladies, this has been such an exciting and interesting week, and it's a holiday. It's Memorial Day weekend we just went through, and we saw a lot of the open states enjoying their holiday. And so I would like to give you all the opportunity to talk about something that you feel is important to you this week, since we're honoring heroes and identifying things that we care about. So Lara, let's start with you.
All right, so I mentioned on last week's episode of The Right View that I was so excited to see all the boat parades all over this country. And there was a boat parade, a Trump parade in my hometown of Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. Here's the parade. I don't know if you can see it. We'll get it up on the screen for everybody. But my mom was literally at the front of one of the boats. I got pictures from so many people at home showing my mom. She proudly was wearing her Trump shirt, sitting at the front, 2 Trump flags, a red one and a blue one. And let me tell you, I was very proud of my hometown. So many people turned out. So thank you to Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. Love you guys so much.
Yay. Hey, Mercedes, what about you? I hear you have an interesting story to share.
I do, actually. So it was Memorial Day weekend. This is a moment in time where we honor those who have served our country, sacrificed their lives for our freedoms. And so I wanted to highlight Corporal Michael Logue, who is actually not only a veteran who served in and deployed in Iraq. He actually was part of a U.S. Marine unit that was in Iraq for over 240 days. And I just want to thank him for his service to the country, because not only is he a vet, someone who served our nation, but also he's one of our exceptional Trump volunteers.
Oh, yay.
And so we are so glad that he is helping us in our efforts to reelect President Donald J. Trump.
And Kimberly, you guys have been quite busy lately. What do you have to share today?
You know, we sure have. And I just tell you, I can't tell you how fortunate I feel that I wake up every morning and I'm in this incredible country, living the American dream, and just really feel incredibly blessed to be a part of this amazing group of strong, successful, born free American women that we love our country. And the more time I spend, on this campaign, speaking at events and dialing for dollars and doing these virtual events, I really realize that it really is women like all of us here who will be deciding the future of this incredible country in this next election. Because the reality is that women like us who have benefited the most from President Trump's leadership and really have been economically emancipated, and it feels good, and we got to keep it going, not just for us, but for future generations of women that are trying to live their, American dream. So whether it's finding great jobs or starting new businesses or running big businesses, women are thriving under President Trump. And he really believes in women. He believes in keeping our communities safe. He really believes in all the opportunities for our children, which I think is so important and crucial to the future of this country. I love the president. I love this country, and I think it's really incredible. We got to keep fighting so hard to put America and American families first. So with that, I say November 3rd, let's go, bring it on, and let's bring Trump right straight back into the White House for this incredible country.
And thank you, Kimberly. You know, and I too am honored to work with all of you wonderful women doing great things for our country, supporting one of the greatest presidents of our lifetime. And, you know, in this honor of Memorial Day, I too would like to honor someone. There's a gentleman named Bobby Michael, who is on our Black Voices for Trump advisory board. And he is having his 60th birthday next week, and he has served our country for 20 years. So I want to say happy birthday to Bobby Michael. He and his wife, Cayenne, have been staunch supporters of President Trump. They lost their son at the hands of an illegal alien in Florida, and they have been out there on the forefront fighting for our president. And so I wanted to give them special recognition and for Bobby this Memorial Day. So thank you all so much for joining us. And if you would like to help us in the fight to re-elect President Trump, here are some ways you can join us. The Trump 2020 campaign app available on Apple and Android. You can sign up for armyfortrump.com to join our grassroots efforts by attending trainings, hosting MAGA meetups, and help with phone banking. And as always, text Trump to 88022 to join the fight with the Trump campaign. And if you are a woman with the right view, text Empower to 88022 to connect with women like you all over the country. Thank you for tuning in this evening. Team Trump Online is on 7 nights a week, and we will see you with the right view next Wednesday. Don't forget to RSVP, and we'll see you next time.